And welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. This is day 2 of the Acsom Charity Weekender. And 9 o'clock is the early shift, and I'm doing it myself, but I do have something planned for you. So don't concern yourself that this is going to be a bore fest for the next hour. Please make your comments on the various social media channels. We are streaming live all day today. 12 hours as we did yesterday, and we're streaming on Facebook and on LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, and on YouTube. If you haven't done so already, get yourself onto YouTube, subscribe to the channel. A Celtic State of Mind is planning big things for 2022. Obviously, we have our staple 12:30 bulletin, the live stream with the team. We've got about 14 contributors who get involved in that, and literally thousands of people who watch it. So that's going to be staying as is, but there's a lot of other programs that we're working on just to improve the quality of our content. Back in the day when we first set up the Acsom bulletin, from time to time, because we didn't have any contributors, I would need to do it on my Todd. So as long as you've got enough liquid, then you're absolutely fine. I have a number of thank yous to start off the show with. First of all, every contributor yesterday. We spoke a couple of times, as did some of the podcasters, about the fact that, people think that there's this kind of big competitive edge between Celtic podcasts. Absolutely not. And this proves it. I mean, last year, I think it was between 15 and 20 podcasts got together, including Acsom, for a charity weekender. I'm going to be talking a wee bit about last year's event, because that has prompted us to do it again, and it's never going to stop now. And then, obviously, yesterday and today, we have come together with some podcasts last year. It was difficult to get anybody in the studio, but this year's been a bit different. So yesterday, we started off with Endless Celts. Now, Endless Celts weren't actually around this time last year when we did the charity weekend, our first time round. And they have been big supporters of Acsom, and they opened up the Saturday schedule. They were followed by Celtic Down Under. Now, what I like about those guys is that they've got an insight into the Australian and Japanese game, and they talk about, and with that kind of knowledge. So it's very interesting, particularly with the new signing targets. They have got great knowledge. So all of these podcasts, a big part of this is that we're introducing you to new shows as well. So check them all out. Celtic Down Under is a fantastic show. And then there was a slight change to the schedule because today's first guests are the Patriot game. So they have appeared on Acsom before last season. And that was after one of the Rangers defeats. They came into the studio. So they're going to be opening up the content after this introduction from myself. But what we did is we pulled the Tony Curran interview a wee bit earlier than planned. And quite frankly, that was incredible. Tony supported, and you'll see later on how he did, but he supported the charity weekender last year massively, and I'll explain that when I show you the wee video that we did. But the interview that we did a few weeks back was in the penalty spot in Sword Street in Glasgow. Tony gave us his time once again, spoke passionately about his support of Celtic, now from afar, because he's based in LA, and he's part of that Celtic crowd over there, with Martin Compston and Gianni Capaldi flying the flag for Celtic. It was great to chat to Tony, and we spoke about the possibility of a Celtic movie being in the works at some point in the future, and he would be quite happy to play a part. When I asked him which part he would play, he reckons maybe Tommy Gemmell. After the Tony Curran interview, we spoke to John and Hamish at 67 Hail Hail, who do fantastic work on their channel on YouTube. If you've not subscribed, get on there and get it subscribed as well. Hamish, I've spoken to quite a few times over the years, actually, so it's great to see the channel doing so well. And then we caught up with Dell at the Celtic Supporters podcast, and again, quite a new podcast on the alternative media scene. And we caught up for about 35-40 minutes, but he will be coming back on to A Celtic State of Mind at some point, so check his page out as well. It's always great to support up-and-coming podcasters and broadcasters, etc. After that was a very interesting hour with Celtic Shared, who previously have appeared on a Celtic State of Mind a couple of times. And someone's telling me the GoFundMe page isn't working. Let's have a wee look at that. I'll double check that it is. It's important that the GoFundMe page is indeed working so that you can get in there if you're able and make a donation. So Celtic Shared had come on to Celtic State of Mind some time ago to talk about how they were setting up a situation whereby they could speak to shareholders and, you know, get to a position where they could advise shareholders what would be best for them to do with their shares as well. So what I'm looking at here is it could well just be an issue with a link. So I'm giving a wee look at that. I'm looking at the fundraiser and I'm going to update the link underneath YouTube. See, this is what happens with live telly. You've just got to do it off the hoof, so bear with me for a few seconds. But thanks for bringing that up. That's what I tend to find on here, is that the commenters keep me right, which is great. Back in the early days, we used to have, because I'm a total novice when it comes to tech, trial and error, we used to have some horrendous issues with the sound. If you listened back then, you'll remember that. And it was always down to somebody watching it saying, "Paul, get your sound sorted, mate." There we go, updated. Thank you very much. That's what it's all about. That's the collaboration that we need to make this a success. So, ADW, thank you very much. GoFundMe page is not working. It is now, mate. So, we've updated the link. Don't know what happened overnight. The link seemed to have changed, but there you go. Now, just on that note, we have the Charity Weekender GoFundMe page, which when you go onto it, you'll see on the page £7,715. But donations outside of the page that have come directly to a State of Mind and Acsom total a further 10,100. So at the moment, we're sitting on £17,815. Our target was 10 grand. And I'm going to talk a wee bit about the target and the kind of motivation that we have in relation to this particular fundraiser. So thank you again for keeping us right on that. I was just talking about Celtic Shared there. Big topic of conversation, of course, now is the rumoured introduction of Bernard Higgins to Celtic Football Club. And, you know, the only people that seem to think that's a good idea are the Celtic board. And I think it shows, as does the whole roots of this fundraiser, it shows just how far removed the Celtic board are from Celtic supporters. They feel that it's a good idea to bring such a divisive figure into Celtic at a senior position. And what it suggests to me, and the club have not communicated, surprise, surprise, anything to the contrary, it suggests to me that they want to take a hardline tactic with the Green Brigade. It's as simple as that. And I think that they want to root them out. There's nobody strong enough at the club in a high enough position to do that. We lost a massive personality, a massive character in Peter Lawwell when he left the club. His replacement didn't last very long, you'll remember. And I don't think there's anyone capable of dealing with any issues that they feel they have with the support. And their answer is to bring someone in who will go in studs up. Anyone who has got any knowledge of what that individual has done to football supporters since the introduction of the offensive behaviour at the Football Act and the focus team at Police Scotland, etc., they will realise that this would not be good for Celtic and it would not be good for the Celtic support. So what I would urge you to do is obviously watch the whole 12 hours content yesterday, but pay particular attention to the Celtic Shared one. There's a real important message for Celtic supporters in there. I know that Green Brigade divide opinion. I see it in the comment section. I think they do some incredible work for the club. I remember their very origins and the genesis of the Green Brigade and the reasons why we had to, I wasn't involved, the group had to start. And the reason for that was obviously from a kind of angle whereby Celtic Park, initially, because it started off, the atmosphere was absolutely rotten 99% of the time, and a group started up called the Jungle Boys. They worked hand in hand with the club to try and energise the stadium. But it goes beyond that, and as does this weekend's fundraiser, because what you've got to realise, I think, at Celtic Football Club is the culture of the club and the fact that Celtic Football Club goes hand in hand with politics. And, anyone who looks back to the birthplace at St Mary's and the reason for Brother Wilfred and others to constitute this club officially in November 1887 will realise that that situation only arose through a political scenario that some would suggest was genocidal in its nature following the Great Hunger of the 1840s in Ireland. So for anyone to suggest that politics and football can't mix, I'm sorry, you've got to know your history. And the big thing with the Acsom crowd, the people that tune in, the people that come in and disagree and all that, which is very healthy, is you all get it. And I don't think the Celtic board get it. They just don't get it. And we'll get into that a wee bit later as well when I start talking about St Mary's and the great work that you've all done to assist the birthplace of Celtic. So that was Celtic Shared. After Celtic Shared, we got a visit in the studio, and it was brilliant because we had the two Ryans and Kieran coming in. You'll know Ryan from his very successful YouTube channel, Ryan118, and there's a show on there, Celtic the Thunder, which I think maybe is about 50 episodes old. And so they came in to record an episode of their podcast in our studio. That's what it's all about. Basically just taking over for an hour. Great guys. Obviously a different age group from me, but I love that as well because I can't just hang about with Celtic dads. So it was great to get them in and to see them and finally meet them. And obviously they've made that effort to come through from Glasgow through to Dalkeith, which is where the studio is. So it was great, brilliant show. And then we took over for a wee while after that. I say we, a Celtic State of Mind, myself, Tony Haggerty and Declan had a fantastic discussion about fan media and the roots of fan media with Celtic, right back to the fanzine days and, Not the View, Once a Tim, Always a Tim, etc. And we know that they went hand in hand with the street movement, Save Our Celts and Celts for Change, which culminated in Fergus taking over the club. We had a wee kind of interlude of music at 1800 hours at 6 o'clock. And, there's a lot of good musicians out there with a Celtic state of mind. This was a wee bit different. And so it was also to introduce you to some of the other stuff that we do on the channel. And we do an unplugged session every week where we put emerging acts onto the channel as well as established ones. So we had Gaz Whelan from Happy Mondays a few weeks back. We've had Edgar Summertime Jones, who's played with everyone from Paul Weller to Johnny Marr and others, Lee Mavers. And we've got Kel Faulkner coming up as well. So there's lots of guests coming up, but we've got emerging acts. And it was an introduction to that show for you. Tony and I jumped back on for a wee chat about, the origins of what it is to be a Celtic fan and how the club chooses you don't choose them. As cliched as it sounds, we both spoke about our experiences of that. And we came to the conclusion that even if we did have to choose a club in Scotland, we'd choose Celtic anyway. And the headliners were the Unrestricted View, who again weren't producing content this time last year. So it was great to put them on the platform and enjoy 1 hour where they were doing a deep dive into the academy situation. I do think about that a lot. The first content I created for public consumption, as it were, was a book called The Quality Street Gang. And the process of doing that was really enlightening and humbling because I was given the opportunity to speak to 60 plus figures who either played for Celtic, supported Celtic, were involved with the club in one way or another. And, I know that the game's changed a hell of a lot since then, but I've come round to thinking that at this moment in time, if Celtic and clubs of Celtic stature were to continue as is and continue with their model of trying to make inroads into Europe, then they never will. Because currently the elite clubs, basically the richest clubs, are continuing to steamroll over clubs like Celtic, clubs of heritage, clubs of tradition and success and history, because of the league they play in. It's as simple as that. So until that day comes, if it ever does come, where Celtic leave Scottish football for riches elsewhere, and that's another debate for another day, I think we should concentrate on the academy because, I think we can create a team that's good enough domestically. Absolutely, because we are the biggest and most successful club in Scottish football. And therefore, that we should have, if we don't, there's an issue, but we should have the pick of the crop every single year, at every single age group. And if we're not, then we're not doing something right. And that's not entitlement. That's just setting a bar and making sure that we reach it. Rocco Vata was spoken about yesterday on one of the shows. And once again, I didn't have much time to look at Twitter other than post the updates. Once I got home, I realised again, it was his mother's account actually posting yet another goal by Rocco Vata. I think he's only 16. He was tearing it up at 15 years of age. He's already been promoted into the under-19s Republic of Ireland squad. An absolute talent. But my big concern is, and we've done a podcast on this previously, there's probably been half a dozen or maybe 7 or 8 young Celtic players who have left the club prior to kicking a ball for the first team and have left for clubs such as Bayern Munich, Blackburn Rovers, Liverpool, Watford. The one with Watford left a particularly sour taste in the mouth because it was Vincent Angelini, goalkeeper, very highly rated. He was a contemporary of Karamoko Dembele. And he left for Watford. And the thing is, his granddad was none other than Davy Hay. So we had that family link. And I just thought, for someone who was so highly rated, for us not to see him in the green and white hoops or the goalkeeper jersey, which is often purple or silver or some other radical colour, was very, very sad. And I'm a bit concerned that we might get to the stage where we can't keep someone like Rocco Vata, so we need to make sure we do. You don't know this because there's a wee back screen on the streaming device that we use, but we do have a very special guest sitting in the wings. He done this last year as well, and that guest is none other than the published poet, Kevin Graham.
Good morning.
How are you doing? I can't hear you, mate, because I don't have my earphones on. So there we go. Kevin Graham was with myself at the kitchen table for episode 1 of A Celtic State of Mind, and we're now on almost episode 800. Kev, how does that feel?
It feels like a very quick but long journey at the exact same time. The amount of twists and turns that we've had since the day Scotland played England and Lee Griffiths had his finest moment at Hampden when we recorded the first one. Yes, and to be sitting here doing the second charity weekender. I'm coming down to the studio later on after the game. So, yes, I would never believe that we would have got to that point, but this is all testament to yourself, Paul, your vision, your hard work. I'm just along for the ride here, basically.
No, but the thing is, Kev, there's a plan, but to get there, you need people. You need people to build it, and that's what we've had on A Celtic State of Mind. And I think that we've seen it this weekend. This weekend. There was an incredible atmosphere. Not many people ended up on screen, but there was a lot of people out the front. Mm-hmm. And there was food and drink flowing, and the chat was flowing, and it was a tremendous atmosphere. And I think the same thing's going to happen today. We're going to see some old faces today as well. Again, they might not jump in on the stream, but they're going to be in the studio. Stevie Mullen's going to be with us, and
brilliant.
Our pal Tommy. Tommy's coming in with Frank McGarvey,
the
one and only.
Oh,
they're coming in. They're coming in.
I saw they were down to do straight after the game at 2:00. So I was going, I wonder if they're going to be in the studio. That'll be utter bedlam if both of them are in the studio.
It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be fantastic. And, the thing with Tommy and Frank is they're going to come in and watch the game. So we're going to obviously have a few troops in the studio covering the game, but we've got the telly out the front there. And you just think to yourself, and I had this moment as well, Kev, when I was lucky enough to work with Andy Lynch on his book. And I found myself with Andy in a pub in Spain watching Ajax v Celtic. And I was getting a minute-by-minute breakdown of everything that was going right, everything that was going wrong, from the perspective of a professional footballer who had gone into coaching after he retired. And that is a completely different level of insight.
Oh, definitely. That's a level of insight. It'll be interesting. I have had the pleasure of being in a dressing room with Frank McGarvey for at least 30 seconds and heard part of his team talks. So it'll be interesting in what kind of take.
Did you just walk out shaking your head?
I did walk out shaking my head going, oh no man, if that's so, it'll be interesting to see his take on the game as well. I'm just about to get interrupted with my three-year-old, but if you just bear with me, it'll be interesting. 2 seconds, Paul.
No problem. So what we do live is we put ourselves in a situation where this can happen, and there's the wee man coming in to see what his old man's up to. But they're absolutely welcome, Kev, aren't they? They're absolutely welcome to the show. That's for
definitely.
Sure.
I mean,
that's the future contributors. That's the future fans at Celtic Park.
See, at the moment, it would probably make a bit more sense than what I do sometimes in the post-match stuff, But I've probably got about 35 minutes before Octonaut finishes, and he'll be back through looking for something else. So I'll try and make sure that he's entertained.
See, I'm going to ask you about that thing you've got in your hand there, but you were talking about the Octonauts. It's incredible how obviously kids just latch on to certain things, cartoons, and my wee one's into SpongeBob SquarePants. There is a point to this, by the way, guys and girls that are watching. SpongeBob SquarePants, and just noticed the other day that might be where all the kind of young team are basing their dress sense these days, Kev, because they're all wearing shorts with these sports socks pulled up to their knees with the 2 colours at the top. And that is exactly what SpongeBob wears. So I know I get a hard time for the young team, right? Because of my dress sense and the fact that I've got a 1992 haircut, and that's fine. But seriously, the shorts and the socks pulled up to the knees, I'm just not having it. Not having it, mate.
It doesn't work, It's not for me. I mean, I was 46 on Friday, so I was. It was a bit. So I'm never going to wear socks pulled up to my knees with shorts, and I mean, I've worn the same stuff since 1990s as well, Paul. And like, I've got a denim jacket, and I remember the young team slagging me about wearing my denim jacket. I'll have it on the day actually, and they came back into fashion. And I went, see if you just keep on wearing the same stuff, you're at least in fashion twice in your lifetime. So
well, I'm happy
with that. I'm happy with that.
Listen, I remember looking through old Celtic pictures, and there was a brilliant one, Kenny Dalglish getting some kind of award, and he's wearing this golf jumper with a big gold eagle on it. And it was Lyle and Scott back in the 70s, mate. So you're absolutely right. They come back round in cycles. Now, I've noticed in your hand that there is a certain manuscript, and I want you to show it to the screen and have a wee chat about this, kid.
This wasn't planned. There
right.
We go.
This, Kevin, obviously over to you, but this has been a long time coming, and I think that over the last 4.5 years or so, it's just been an idea that's grown in your mind. Talk to us about what you have in your hands here this morning.
What this is my book about Henrik Larsson, the 7 years of Henrik Larsson at Celtic, but it's done in poetic form. But it's a fan's love letter to Henrik Larsson, and this fan felt the need that you had to write this letter so future generations could actually know how good this fella was that this fan had watched, and also how much of unrelinquished love that this fan gave Henrik Larsson over those 7 years. And it's like a sort of it's like a historical artifact. It's done in a certain way to look like a scrapbook, because my concept was, once I actually got the voice I was writing in, the concept was it was like someday going into an old relative's house and finding it. No having a clue who Henrik Larsson was and picking it up and reading it. So that was a concept I actually had. And it's also for the people who watched Henrik Larsson as well, because I want it to be visceral. I want it to actually stoke emotions in them. And from the people who have read it, I did actually road test it on a couple of people who don't usually buy books of poetry or stuff like that. They loved it. They were just normal match going fans, and I says, go and have a read of this and see if it works. And all of them have came back to me and says it really, really works. They were transported back to moments in time of the games that I mentioned in the book. So yes, it was 4.5 years in the making. It's probably done. What's there is probably the fourth draft, if I'm being truthful, because when I first started doing it, Paul, it was in my own voice, and there wasn't enough scope there. And if you think back, I done a piece for Charlie Gallagher passing away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that piece with Charlie Gallagher passing away. I saw a picture of a young boy in the schoolboy enclosure in the 1965 Scottish Cup final. And I went away a walk, and I came back, and this line popped into my head when I was walking away, and it was this wee guy's voice saying something about Charlie Gallagher. And it's like it came from there. So I went away, I wrote the Charlie Gallagher poem, I didn't think anything else about it. Then there was another time, dead of night, I woke up, and the first poem that's in the book, I rewrote it in a different voice, and this fan's voice must have came to me. And the whole book then made sense. It was written within 6 months as soon as I got the first one right. We did all the other ones. Gave some of them to Martin McGarvey, who's done the illustration on the front, and there is pictures in it for those who like pictures. Martin McGarvey's done the illustrations. Tom Campbell's edited it. Mikey's designed it. It's been an utter team effort, and it's just really bizarre to have a book with my name on it sitting in front of me. It even ended up on the cover and the title, 7 Years of Henrik, is based on a Twilight Sad song called 7 Years of Letters. And the cover, so I had to go to the band and ask permission to see if I could rip off their cover, basically. And fortunately enough, we've got a link to the band in JP Mason. So he sent it to them, and they says, yes, brilliant. We can use that. And I ended up on their Instagram feed the other night there because I've actually spelled the guitarist's name wrong on the back cover.
Kevin,
I know, but right, it's one of these things. It's like,
see the thing, right? What you've created there is a situation where a year ago, if someone said to you that you will be the topic of a conversation on Instagram between Mogwai and the Twilight Sad, you would have thought, but that is exactly what happened the other night. And they have said that they're going to absolutely sue your ass off for copyright, so that's going to be interesting.
Yes, that's good.
But the quote on the back of the book from the member of Twilight Sad, please read it out to us, because this is when it was pitched to him. Can Kevin Graham, parody this artwork? Tell us what the response was.
Who the heck's Kevin Graham?
And to actually include that in the book, I think just shows the humility of the man.
I see Monty in there. I know Monty's probably ripping my chain saying he hates poetry. I write poetry for people who didn't like poetry. And what I will say is I've gave the book to people to read who do not read poetry whatsoever. And they say, if you're a Celtic fan, you're going to love this. It's got great words with Jim Orr. I remember pitching this to Jim Orr at the penalty spot when we were doing a signing with Danny McGrain. And it started off as I was going to write something about all Henrik Larsson's 242 goals. And Jim Orr just looked at me as if I was a madman. And he really did. And I thought, well, maybe that's a bit much. And so... yes, it's been a pleasure to write, an utter pleasure to write. When I was going back over it, Paul, and sometimes like you hear guys like James Allen. I've heard the interview done with James Allen. Sometimes things just pop into your head and you do not know where they come from. I read back a lot of that, and there's some things I can't remember writing, and I'm like, where did that come from? Yeah. And when I've started reading it again, I've been like, wow, did I actually write that? Where did that come from? Because as I says, a lot of the things coming to me, it's just like they get plucked out the air. I can sit there with no thought in my mind for weeks and weeks. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, and there's something there. And it's quite frightening at times. I actually scare myself that a number of times that happens.
Well, a couple of things, Kev, that have sprung to my mind. Firstly, I was talking about the Instagram discussion between two of your favourite bands about you, Bizarre. Another thing that will happen at some point is that we will get that book in the hands of Henrik Larsson. There's going to be a moment in the next year where there's an image of Henrik Larsson with that book in his hands. You know, that's going to happen, Kev. We're going to make that happen. The other thing that you said there was around the inspirational art, and I've heard so many songwriters talking like that. I watched an interview just the other week there between Sean Ryder and John Robb, and John Robb is a Mancunian author, but he was in the Membranes, and he runs Louder Than War. Sean Ryder, no introduction necessary, and he was talking about that. And I've heard Shane McGowan saying that you can't force it; it just happens, and when it happens, and it feels as though they're plucking the ideas from the sky. And then, you know, on the flip side of that, I've watched a brilliant interview with David Bowie, where what a visionary he is. You know, when you know, a lot of the stuff he said has come to fruition. He was very prophetic, particularly when talking about technology. But when he was talking about songwriting and art, he says that you can never force it. And the only time that you tend to force it, Kev, is if a publisher or a record company or a big businessman forces you to do something that otherwise you're not ready to do or you don't want to do. And he says that what generally happens is you create your worst art under those circumstances. So I'll keep chatting just while Kev deals with the wee guy, and I will give you today's lineup. So Kevin, Graham and I, and I think it's only fitting that Kevin, Graham and I opened today's schedule because we opened episode 1 of the Celtic State of Mind 4.5 years ago. And we have done various Acsom episodes since then. Following this hour, at 10 o'clock, you will be hearing from the Patriot game. And after the Patriot game, we will go live for the game. We're going to have a few of the Acsom contributors in the studio. We're just going to go live this time because for most games, what we do is we do a pre-match, a half-time and a post-match. And during the game, whoever is contributing is able to take notes, you know, scribble down their observations, and then we can have a chat about it after the event. But we're going to do a watch-along. And that's going to run right up until 2 o'clock. And hopefully we are celebrating a Celtic victory against Dundee United. 2 o'clock, Tommy Sheridan and Frank McGarvey are in this studio. I'm Frank and he's Tommy is the name of the show. Fairly new podcast, very entertaining. And they will be in doing their thing. Followed by, at 3 o'clock, the Huddle Breakdown. Now, anyone who's a long-time viewer of the Celtic State of Mind will know that Alan Morrison has been contributing to Acsom for some time. He now has his own show, The Huddle Breakdown, where he strips games back and looks at the analytics and the data. And he won't get a chance to do that for a Dundee United game. So I know that him and his comrades are looking forward to just having a wee chat about the football. Following that, the Celtic Exchange will be in the studio. So I'm looking forward to meeting those guys as well. Followed by one of the old guard, Electronic Tims or E-Tims will be dialing in from 5 o'clock. They were involved in last year's charity fundraiser and it'll be great to see them again. Then we have Glasgow is Green, Gig Pod, another really magnificent show, which I'm looking forward to seeing again, having had them on the show last year. And then after that, 4 Tims and a pod. Now, we've had the guys in the studio. Last year, they kind of stole the show over the weekend based around a jersey. I don't know if it's going to make an appearance this year. We shall wait and see. And then at 2000 hours, at 8 o'clock, Kevin and I, like we have done here, opening the show, we will close the show. Kevin and I created a show some time ago based on that album Behind Kevin's Head, and we called it Screama Celica rather than Screamadelica. And it ran as a live broadcast for a while, and now it is a fully produced studio production, which, incidentally, Kev, is still getting the roughly the same figures as before. And what I would like to say, just on that, is that this weekend has been mainly based around the dial-in scenario, just so that we can get as many people involved as possible. And the thing with that is, we do have the capabilities, Kev, and the know-how. I don't, Kelvin does, to produce any kind of level, any standards of content. And if you look at things like the Gaz Whelan session that we did down in Manchester, it's like, and again, I'm not taking the credit for this, I'm going to give Kelvin the credit. It's a work of art. The way that it's filmed is absolutely beautiful. Brilliant lighting, brilliant sound, cracking concept. And that's the kind of content that Acsom will be creating moving forward. So the 12:30 bulletin will remain as is, because we've got a fantastic team who can't all be here at 12:30 on a daily basis. They give up their time from different corners of the country. But once we get into the nitty-gritty and the nighttime viewing, Kev, it's going to be fully produced. It's going to be proper content that you could switch a mainstream channel on and watch something of a similar ilk. That's what we now do with Schema Celica. And the differentiation between the two is if you put out a live broadcast, Kev, with the name Acsom or Celtic State of Mind on it, on our channel, and it's live and it's on at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you're going to get an audience. You are going to get traction on that because we've built up the name over a period of time. But what generally you find by looking at the data analysis is that that only has a lifespan of 48 hours. So the bulletins are watched for 48 hours and then we've moved on and everybody else has moved on. Fully produced item of content like your Schema Celica is now, Kev, that has longevity. It continues to get hits forevermore. And that's the difference. So at the moment, episode 1 with Johnny Proctor is up. We have a list of about a dozen other guests that you will be able to enjoy. It might be once a month, it may be once a fortnight, depending on how we can get people in the studio. But it will be worth waiting for, Kev, because we're doing it and it's going to be polished and it's going to be fully produced content.
It was always meant to be like that, Pauline, but obviously the plague hit, this global pandemic, and it turned into something else. I'm looking forward to the list of guys. Johnny Proctor actually retweeted it last night because Celtic are obviously playing Dundee United today, and Johnny Proctor's a Dundee United fan, so I had a wee blather with him last night as well, so he's going up to the game today. I enjoy doing it with Johnny. Some of the guests that we've got lined up are really good. It's going to give it a different dimension, and we always wanted that different dimension for it. And when we were sitting, we can go back to like 4 years ago when we were sitting round about that table, and I remember that notebook that you had, which looked like it was bound by mermaids on the banks of the Forth.
It was.
And you were showing us, and like where we're going, the fully produced content was always in that book 4 years ago. And so it's probably, we're probably there quicker, we're probably there sooner. Who knows? We're there when we're meant to be there. So yes, we've got Kelvin there, and the lad's a genius at what he does. So it's we need to actually go to the next level. And the bulletin's fantastic. The bulletin's a safe space for a lot of people. It's part of people's routines, and nobody in the comments is going to know the amount of messages we actually get from people who says that it's helped them over the last 18 months. And it's most humbling, and it makes we just come on here to actually talk about Celtic. Give people a focal point in that, But people have like, it's routine now. It's routine for the contributors as well. It got us through a lot of time as well. Paul, you were going in the studio. I was coming on. I was coming on often. I had days where I came on. It gave you a bit of routine. It gives people a bit of routine. It's on at 12:30, and now people have went back to work as well. Like, people are now tuning in at night rather than during the day because their circumstances have changed. And the bulletin can't change. The bulletin's been really, really good, but you'll see the day when we're doing the live watch along and maybe the post match what we're going to try and do going forward more with the games and that. It's a fantastic. Where we're moving is fantastic, and again, some people didn't like change. Sometimes it happens for a reason, and sometimes it happens for the better. and sometimes it happens for reasons that you wouldn't believe as well.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. What I was also going to say, Kev, is that you get a lot of comments online that are not very complimentary. But what we do, going back on one of the points you made, we get a lot of comments that are sent privately because people don't want to share perhaps how they were feeling or how something has affected them. But they will reach out, they'll DM you, they'll email us, and we share a lot of these thoughts without giving away identities in the group chat. And it's incredible when somebody actually says that, you know, this has been an anchor for them on a day-to-day basis over a period of time. Really humbling. What I'm going to do just for the last 20 minutes or so, right, because I'm also going to have to set up the next show. I'm going to play some of the messages we got from last year, Kev, because during the weekend last year, we didn't have the opportunity to put them out on the broadcast. And I was watching them this morning thinking to myself, I can't believe he sent us a message. And it's as relevant today as it was last year. Now, some of the people that gave us these messages do reference the quadruple treble charity weekender. Some of them actually say the 19th and 20th of December, which was obviously last year's date. But let's be honest, it's the charity weekender. So it's an accumulation of funds for good causes. And I just wanted to watch some of these, Kev. So this will probably bring back a few memories for you. So bear with us, because what happens is the video will take over the screen and we'll be muted. And here's the first one.
Listen, Paul, I don't know how you're doing it, but I'm in Las Vegas and I'm hearing about the wonderful things you're doing for charity. So I had to record a wee message just to say thank you, congratulations, and you're doing us proud. And good luck when you're pushed for the 19th and the 20th. Honestly, special time of year and you're a special person. Thank you.
Humbling, mate. I'm going to run through them because, honestly, when I watched them this morning, I was like, wow, did they actually send us this? So that was obviously Gianni Capaldi, who's doing so well over in LA, big Celtic fan, and also an ambassador for the foundation. The next one is someone everybody tuning in will recognise.
A wee message to Paul John Dykes. How you doing, buddy? It's Macca. Listen, just want to tell you that everyone's so proud of you, all your charity work that you're doing. Very inspirational, mate. Keep up the good work and keep the fight up for our team, Celtic. You see a lot of good things, pal. So very proud of you. Take care, buddy.
Top man, Mac. I remember that time he joined us at the toll booth, Kevin Stirling. Drove through from Glasgow to appear on a Celtic State of Mind. And we've done a few gigs with him as well, haven't we, over the years?
He did. I just love the fact that he goes, "Hiya, Paul, it's Macca," as if we're not going to know who he is. I think that's just brilliant. Again, me and you, centenary team, we've spoken about it quite a long time. McAvenny's always going to be an utter legend and a hero in my eyes, actually, just for that season. All that team, definitely. It was really good hearing the guys yesterday for the Endless Celts podcast talking about the Martin O'Neill team as well. That was really good. There's a lot of good stuff yesterday. Really a lot of good stuff.
I love hearing other people's point of reference, Kev. Like, I know ours is a Hampden season, I know ours is a centenary season, but when you hear others that start to go to watch Celtic when O'Neill's in charge, and you think, wow, I've been watching Celtic for so long. By that stage, now I'm the old guy that used to tell me the stories on the supporters bus when I started going. It's incredible. The baton just keeps going. It just keeps getting passed in.
Definitely. When you hear some folk, I can't remember seeing him play, and you're like, what? This makes me feel really old.
That's all right, mate. We are old. You've just got to embrace it. You've just got to embrace it. Next up, and I'm pretty sure everybody will remember a particular hat-trick by this guy.
Big shout out for John Dykes for putting on a great charity event for some great causes. Well done. Keep up the good work, and hope everyone enjoys it. Take care. Bye.
I don't mind getting called John Dykes for Craig Bellamy because he was absolutely brilliant for the time he spent with us, Kev. But he spoke out recently about his battle with mental health, and he's taken some time out of football to look after himself in that respect. So fair play to him for talking out on that as well, Kev.
Definitely. Craig has always been... His public persona at times was different, and obviously he's came out and says about the troubles that he's actually had, and he's been quite open and honest. He's still at Anderlecht with Vincent Kompany. Is he still there? I think he is. He's still at Anderlecht.
He stepped away just to deal with his mental health, and that was just in the last few months.
I enjoyed his time with us. Did he have unfinished business with us? Probably. He probably did have unfinished business with us, but we moved on. That hat-trick he scored at Tannadice, the place that we're going today, is very, very memorable. I like Craig, and good luck to him in the future, and hopefully he gets the help, and he's been well rested and getting the wellness that he needs.
Absolutely. Next up.
Hi Paul, it's Alan Thompson here. Just want to say keep up the great work with the Celtic State of Mind charity. Absolutely inspirational. Fantastic. Keep it going. And all the best for the 19th and the 20th of December. Fantastic. And have a great Christmas. Hail, hail.
Tremendous. Like yourself though, Kev, Alan Thompson is promoting his book. What's your memories of Tomo?
Left-footed pass up the wing to Larsson. Every time. Anytime we were in baller, Tomo would play this ball, and it was a curved ball. And Larsson would do Larsson would be in the middle, and he would go towards the halfway line, and he would actually bend round, and Tomo would follow it, and Larsson would follow the ball. And I remember Thompson says, anytime he was knackered, he would play that ball. Anytime there was nothing else on, he would play that ball, because he knew Henrik Larsson would actually go there. He scored some great goals as well, Thompson. Look, all that team they took it to Europe, that side, They were the last team that really took it to Europe, the Seville team. And they're probably the best team I've seen in my lifetime. I think I've circled that square now, that they are the best team that I've seen in my lifetime, unless Ange Postecoglou builds us one that wins as a European trophy. Because of exactly that, they took it to Europe, and they'd done it on a European stage. I loved the Invincible treble season. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant. That last minute winner by Tom Rogic, fantastic. But Martin O'Neill's team took it to Europe, got us our pride back in European competition, and that for me, they are the greatest side, that Celtic side I've seen so far. And I'm going to emphasise the so far. There's always room for a better one.
There is, mate. I'm going to play this next one. It'll take a wee while. And whilst this is playing, because this is a personal favourite, and I don't even have to explain why, I will, because you'll know when you watch it why, I'm going to send out the invites for the next show just while this next one plays. Here we go.
Hiya, Paul John. How's it going, mate? Just want to say a big well done to you, and a huge gratitude for all your great work that you're doing for the Celtic State of Mind. I've seen some really positive messages on you from current players and former players, of course. The reason they're sending their best to you, mate, is because they respect you, because you're a great host and a really nice fella. So good luck on the 19th and the 20th. Hope you raise lots of funds for great causes, and I wish you well, mate. All the best.
What can you say to that, mate?
Brilliant. Big John's the salt of the earth, soul of the earth. He's got a right good soul, as Big John Hartson. Again, another guy who hasn't had his troubles to seek. And again, he's been well publicised with his troubles to seek. Some of the charity work that he does is absolutely fantastic. And what he's done for Acsom as well. I don't think I'm breaking any confidentiality here, Paul, but you can phone John and he always picks up the phone to you. Absolutely. Always gives you advice, will always help us out. So he's a big lad. He's a big, good lad. He was a great striker for us. Over 100 goals. One of the, is it 19 guys that are in the 100 club now? I'm not really one of my figures in that. And he really loved him. He enjoyed playing for us. He's one of those players who probably didn't know much about Celtic before he came up, but left in love with the club.
Absolutely.
And how many of those players in our history are like that, don't know nothing about us, but come up, but fall completely in love with the club. Something JP Mason says the other week there, that James Forrest gets messages from players that have left now saying that they wish they had never left. And when you think of some of that team today, that's got to be on that part today, I get the feeling Joe Hart will finish his career going, Celtic was the best place I ever played football.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Because he's had that sort of tough time in England now after leaving Man City, going to Torino, rebounding about like other clubs not getting a game. And he's come up here. There's 50-odd thousand fans every week. The best away support in the country. What is not to enjoy? What is not to enjoy, eh? You know what I mean? So
I think the timing, Kev, you know, when you think about the fact that that there's a period of time where, and it can happen in normal life, never mind football, where people just get intoxicated by a situation, their profile, you know, and it's ego. And then eventually they come crashing down and then they realise what's important. And sometimes Celtic can be a place where they can come and rediscover themselves and find themselves again. And I find that is the case at the moment with Joe Hart. Who's up next? Let's see.
How you doing, everybody? It's Tony Curran here. I'd like to lend my support to Paul John Dykes and Ken Walsh at a Celtic State of Mind podcast. This weekend they have the quadruple treble weekender fundraiser over 24 hours, and it'll be raising money and awareness for vulnerable kids, for homelessness, food banks, and also people with mental health issues. Obviously, it's been a very challenging year for everybody, and anything that anybody can donate would be greatly appreciated. I have a few little bits and bobs here, which will be on the auction. These are a pair of Vans that are hand painted by my sister-in-law, bless her. Mr. Martin Comston, our good friend, has donated £100 for these so far. Thank you for that, Martin. I've also got some other little Doctor Who memorabilia that was given to me, and I've signed them. Also, my friend Ross Muir at Ross Muir Art has donated this lovely picture of, well, it's Vincent van Gogh, a square Gough it's called. And I also, so thank you for that, my man. Thank you, Ross. And I've also got a signed poster of Outlaw King here. So yeah, they'll be on the auction. If anybody would like to donate, that would be much appreciated. Obviously, it's for a very, very important cause, and hopefully we can raise as much money as possible and win a quadruple treble at the same time. So hail, hail. Good luck, everybody. Thank you. Take care.
And we did. Now, what amazed me about Tony Curran was all that gear was things that he'd kind of picked up in his acting career. I mean, that Doctor Who figure was a figure of him. So he was in such a successful show with Doctor Who, Kev, they made a toy figure of him. And he had a couple of them. So he gave us one and he gave his daughter one. That just blows me away. And on the back of that, what happened was we auctioned them all off on eBay. Mm-hmm. So people bought them from all over the world. Tony, based in LA, then sent them all out at his own cost. Wherever they were to go, he sent them all out from LA. He wrapped them up, he sent them out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I love the T-shirt that he had on there in that clip. The steam coming off the plane after Lisbon. And I mean, anybody that's a friend of Declan McConville, you know what I mean? He's asking for Declan all the time.
I wonder if this next one's a pally deck. I don't want to run out of time without playing this, mate, because this tickles me. I'll take this to my grave. Watch this.
Paul John Dykes, are you there? Here's a special message just to show I care. Paul John Dykes. Dykesy. Paulsy. Johnsy. How you doing, mate? I just wanted to say good luck for the 19th and the 20th. What tremendous work you're doing for these charities. It's incredible. I was going to run it myself. Just a problem with the legs, really, moving one in front of the other. Struggle with that. I mean, apart from that, I could do it. No trouble at all. But I want you to do brilliantly this weekend and raise as much money as you can. It's me, it's Wyn Evans. I'm not just singing the Go Compare song for fun. I am the Go Compare man. I know. So handsome without the moustache on. You don't have to say it. Hey, mate. I'm there. I'm 3 steps ahead of you. Anyway, good luck this weekend. I'm sending you loads and loads of love. Sending you all my best wishes and raise as much as you can for these very worthwhile charities. Happy Christmas, mate.
Two things about that clip, Paul. One, it reminds me of the train guy by Bob Mortimer.
Yes.
Just that bit at the end. And two, I need to get house insurance. So that's done. That's done. That's jogged my memory there.
We aim to help people, Kev, even if it is their housing insurance. I'm having a look at them because we're running out of time. There's some absolute belters in here. I'm just wondering who else should we play. I don't think I've played all of these before. Here's one of my favourites. Here we go.
Hi, Paul John. Just wanted to send a quick message of support for you and your charity, your Celtic State of Mind. I know there's a big event at the weekend, so I wish you well with that. Take care and stay safe.
An absolute gentleman, Mark Hughes. And again, I'm just going to run through a couple more, Kev, just as we wrap up for the Patriot game coming in. Check this one out.
Hi, Paul. Up to your charity work again. Do you ever take a day off? Good luck, Paul, and have a nice Christmas.
Now, that jersey that Danny signed will be available in the auction that will be running during the week. There's loads more of the videos, Kev, but we've run out of time, mate.
There is, I know.
You're going to be joining us later on tonight?
Yes, I'll be down for Scream of Celtic, but I'll probably be down later on this afternoon. The missus is back at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, so I'll be heading down after that. Hopefully the troops are still in the studio when I get there, and I'll get to have a bit of crack with them before we do a 1967 Scream of Celtic.
Can't wait. £17,860 is the current figure. We're heading towards £18,000. Next up is the Patriot game. So, Kevin Graham, thank you for joining me once again on
Thanks very much.
A Celtic State of Mind.